Hello, this is Trading with the Trend G2 setups. And we call this specific setup the break and go setup because the price is moving back and then it breaks down into the direction of the trend. And so this is similar to the other setups, but there's a few key differences. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is for trend trades only. So the other G3 setups are basically whatever. You look at the trend, but it's not specific or critical that you actually follow the trend. You just follow the setup. This one is only for trend trades, the break and go. Okay, here is some other differences. Number one is trading with the trend. The second is this doesn't require a G3 or an R3, which the counter trend does require a G3 and R3. The next thing is you're looking for only a G2 R2 plus trend. That's what you need, is a G2 R2 plus trend. However, a G3 R3 plus trend is still allowed. That would be the ultimate best setup, but you don't always get that very often. It's very rare. So you just need a G2 and R2. And the reason it's rare is because when you have a strong trend, it doesn't pull back that deep to get an R3. And then the fourth thing is you're going to use a little bit bigger target because you're trading with the trend. And again, this is based on your trading plan on what you like to do, but this is me. I like to make a little bit bigger target. So the first thing you do, just like always, is you go to the scanner. You can check that out, and then once you find a pair, you go directly to the chart, and you got to have two exhaustion time frames lined up. So let's go ahead in a setup that just occurred just now. You can see that we have, this is the USD Swiss. It's on a 15-minute time frame. So we have, the first thing is the G2 on the 30 and the G2 on the 15. Okay, you see that time frame? And then you have to have the trend set up. So we've got the trend is green right here, and we have the G2 and in place. So when you get a G2 plus trend, then it's a signal. If you get a G2 and there's no trend, then it is not a signal. But G2 plus trend is a signal. And as you can see what happened in this example, the price had moved quite a nice distance. So it didn't take long for it to happen, and it just went straight to it. So then once you've identified that, you go ahead and look at the possible trade outcomes, which is basic technical analysis. You know how that works. You just find some support levels and some resistance point. Like you could put this level as a potential, maybe right here for a stop loss, or if you want to go deeper, you just go to a bigger time frame. You find a good stop loss level. You find a good level for your target. You might want to go to the zeros, or maybe go to your daily chart and find a nice resistance point. Basic technical analysis for the setup, and then so once you do that, so then what you're going to want to do is lay out the trades. You remember there's two, just an additional note is we have two actual entries for this setup. We have the aggressive entry and the conservative entry. So let me actually just pull up the actual chart here to show you how this works. You can see that you have your G setup right here, and one of the things you could do to make it a little more conservative is you can put in a breakout for price. You could, for example, you could drop down to like a 5-minute time frame, and you could draw a trend line, and this is the conservative setup, is say, okay, I've got this trend line in place. I know that we're in a G setup, but it could move to the upside, so I'm not going to go ahead and take the trade until I get the breakout. And you can see how strong of a break that was. So that's the conservative entry, is placing a trend line and waiting for a break. Whereas the aggressive entry is where as soon as you get your setup, you just go with it And actually I might have been looking at the wrong setup. Yeah, I was. My chart is moving me around. You see that we've got the G setup. You just draw your trend line in place. Once you get the break, you go. That's part of the break and go. Hence the name break and go. And then there's the aggressive setup, which is once you get a G2, you just take the trade. So, okay, we're G2 right about here. I'm going to take the trade. I'm not going to wait. Now, the thing about the aggressive setup is you're going to have to adjust your money management a little bit. Maybe take smaller trade size, give yourself a room to add positions. So that's the two entries. We have aggressive and conservative. This is the break and go trading with the trend G2 setup. One other thing to mention on this is that you could actually, we say that it's a longer term, you could move out to some different time frames, try to find some good resistance points. We're on a hourly. Like you could see that this was one of the entries that I had identified. You see how deep it was pulled back here. So you could even look at this as an hourly trend line too. It doesn't have to be 5 minute. There's different ways to adjust for this, but the thing is it works on every time frame that you trade. I know earlier I talked about swing trading and longer term. Some of you guys like to be in trades longer. So you could have done the hourly deal and done a breakout that way. And potential target for an hourly trade like that would be this current high. And it did that. Or one of the things I like to do, I talk about using Fibonacci targets, is I draw the swing high and the swing low to the last move, and then I take a look at the 127 extension. Here, let me change the template here so we can actually see it. I change the one, get rid of the grid. I just do a move here, and then I draw my fib from you start at the top and you go to the bottom, and you go from swing high to swing low, and then you look at if it breaks this top, your extension is the 127. A lot of times it will go there. Here it didn't quite, but it was only about 3 pips away. It was 6 pips away. You could put your target right below that extension. And then there's another extension which gets hits a lot, and that's the 161. And here you have the 161 and the 0. So those are just some ideas for some targets. And for a stop loss, you could have put your stop loss down here. Again, a lot of this will have to do with your money management style, which I'm going to having a detailed money management video later on. But this is, I think, is a preferred setup because we have not just a G2 setup, but we have a G2 plus trend. And anytime you get a G setup plus the trend, you are in a good position because it increases your probability. Because anytime you're trading with the trend, it increases your probability, and it also increases your targets. So that's one of the reasons why I think this is a really good setup, and these don't quite happen as often as G3 setups, but they're great setups to get into. All right, well, that's it. Make sure you take the quiz below, and after you take the quiz, you will then be advanced to the next video. Thank you.